Simply cannot imagine a draft night that could have gone any better for the Utah Jazz. It's next on Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast. Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan. On today's show, we'll explain why the Jazz had a virtually perfect night. Time will tell what happens with the players, but on draft night, you can only execute draft night, and that went dreamy. We'll explain why. We'll break down Cody Williams. We'll look at Isaiah Collier. It's insanity that Isaiah Collier is still available at 29 in this draft. I'm really excited about Cody Williams, but it's insanity that Isaiah Collier was available at 29 in this draft. It's kind of insanity that Cody Williams is available at 10, frankly. We'll look at both those. I'll explain why on today's show. Today, this show is Locked on Jazz. I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. And this is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps as well as on YouTube. Give a thumbs up if you liked the Utah Jazz draft night last night. Wow! Today's show brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. If you want my real-time reactions, we did a 3.5-hour non-commercial break show last night on YouTube. You can check it out, scan through it. If you want to watch my Isaiah Collier explosion, you can. All right. I'm honestly, I woke up this morning, I'm flabbergasted. I also slept very low because I watched 2 more USC games last night. Trying to figure out how Collier got to 29. So let's talk through the night. I just want to make one comment. I don't usually get in my mentions anymore. I'm kind of over that. It's the same guy who always picked. There's a guy out there, like I keep tabs. I keep receipts. I know who you are. Who always claims the same thing. And if you're just tuning in and this is your first show that you've seen out of Locked on Jazz and you haven't watched the pre-draft stuff, this is why I mention this. If you're hearing this say, okay, he's the radio voice of the Jazz and he's obviously high in this draft, he's just, as somebody said, bought and paid for. That's a reasonable thought, unless you've listened and watched the last 7 weeks of coverage. And then you basically have exactly what I said I wanted in this draft. Cody Williams was the number 2 player on my board behind Reed Sheppard. I did an entire show of whether we should trade up to go get Isaiah Collier. I thought his skill set was simply too high to not go get him at some point in time if he's really slipping at 20. I kind of was losing it between 22 and 29 when everyone was trading the picks on packages where we had better things to offer and we weren't making the trades and Isaiah Collier was available. You can ask Tim Lacombe. I was kind of losing it. And then Collier got to 29. So just to put it out there, I got it. I'm wearing a team jersey. I work for the team. I get a paycheck from Ryan. And if this is your first time tuning in and you hear this excitement and your thought is, hey, he's just selling, fair thought, unless you've actually listened to the 7 weeks of coverage leading into this, in which Cody Williams has been the guy I've wanted the entire time. And Isaiah Collier was the number 1 high school player in the country, has skills that you just simply can't teach. And frankly, wasn't as bad at everything else that everybody said. I got what's possibly wrong with Isaiah Collier. Not really, though. And I watched him just dominate Cal last night. Dominate. They simply couldn't stop him. I was hoping that Jalen Tyson, who I really, really liked in this draft, was guarding him, and he wasn't. All right, let's get to the night. You have the 10th pick and the 29th pick, and the Jazz basically got, unofficially, 2 guys that were probably in their top 15 on their board. They were certainly 2 guys in my top 15, but from my intel, I'm pretty certain it was 2 guys in their top 15 too. But here's what's crazy about that. There was not a mock draft in the last 2 weeks that had Cody Williams going to 10. And the Zach Edey pick at 9 was the key to it, but so was the Rob Dillingham pick at 8 by Minnesota trading up to get San Antonio, and so was the TJ Salon pick at 6 by Charlotte. Lots of things had to happen for that. And the Jazz either read the board correctly or got lucky, or the other thought here is that they were content with Cody Williams, Zach Edey, or Nikola Topic. I actually think, talking to Tim Lacombe, and give Tim all the credit here, he was on this. I think that if Cody Williams goes 9, Zach Edey goes 10. And that's really from Lacombe. And he said it on the show last night. And it began to make sense. Like, Edey did some things. We didn't talk enough about him. That would have been a surprise. But Cody Williams was the guy throughout the last 7 weeks who I thought had it all. We'll talk about why in a second. But he's 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. You just can't get those things. He played on a team with 3 seniors that took all the attention. He got beat up and injured a bunch of times. He's got all the pieces. If I had 2 guys I was going to take as all-stars in this draft, it was Reed Sheppard and Cody Williams. My third one would have been Donovan Clean. Maybe he's just big enough he becomes an all-star, but I have a hard time seeing that. Just offensively where it plays out. The other one is that they read the board right on Collier. Now, again, I'm not sure if they totally read the board right on Collier, but what they read was the way this draft is playing out, we've got 4 or 5 guys we actually like sitting here. We're at 20. There's 6 guys we like. One of them is getting to us at 29. Happened to be Collier. And I couldn't be more excited that it's Collier. I was looking at the draft board last night, and I'm going to show you 2 plays of Isaiah Collier later in the show, and of why I'm stupefied that this kid dropped as far as he did. I got to be honest. I just don't see it. But I was looking at the board last night. I really like Jalen Tyson at 20. After that, I want Isaiah Collier. And if Baylor Shireman had been, if Collier goes, then you take Shireman. Very different player. You got the number 1 and the number 4 recruits in the 2023 high school class. If we didn't have a stupid rule that kids had to go play in the college basketball for a year, which is a ridiculous rule that they shouldn't have. Collier's a top 5 pick, and so is Cody Williams. And Collier goes first. So you got 2 guys that have unteachable skills. Cody Williams' length, size, movement, athleticism, feet. Collier's wiggle, shake, strength. Unteachable. The other thing I'll be honest about last night, there's some stuff I really didn't like. Time will tell whether I'm right or not. But there was 0 chance I wanted us to draft a 23-year-old. You go back through the history of the draft and look at guys who've been drafted all the way back to Jimmer Fredette's draft, who were 22 or older, that got drafted in the top 20. There are 20 guys that have gone that way. There are 2 rotation players and 0 starters. Out of 20 players that are 22 or older that have gotten drafted in the top 20 in the NBA draft, for the last 20 players, 2 rotation players and 0 starters. I was terrified we were taking Dalton Connect. That is absolutely the player. Honestly, he's skilled. He's not bad. I just didn't want him. He's 23 years old. He's developed. It doesn't match what we're doing. He doesn't I'm not sure actually he can play. Wesley Johnson looked good coming in the draft. He couldn't play. And the second thing is, as you guys have listened, all everydayers, I'm terrified by guys that can't shoot. If you go look at the guys that spot up percentile shooting is below 40% in the last 5 drafts, James Bouknight, Zaire Williams, Peyton Watson, Killian Hayes, Jonathan Kuminga, Nazir Little, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Precious Achua, Osam Jang, Marshawn Beauchamp, Isaiah Stewart, Patrick Williams, Cam Reddish, Victor Wembanyama, Jaime Jaquez, Anthony Black, Josh Christopher, Dyson Daniels. None of them can shoot. The myth that you can teach shooting along the way, I don't buy. Jaime Jaquez has surprised it. Let's see if it lasts. And frankly, if you push this thing out past 40%, you get Josh Giddey and Romeo Langford and Patrick Baldwell and RJ Hampton and Jerice Walker and Paulo Banchero and Jaden Ivey and Lucas Samanic and Matisse Thybulle and Jaden McDaniels and then Tyrese Maxey. So if you go to 45 and stop before you get to Jaden McDaniel, not many of those guys can shoot. Okay, Isaiah Collier is in that group on spot-up shooting at 43%. He's on the edge. That's why I got there at 29. And we'll talk more about it coming up. But those guys terrify me that can't shoot. And in this draft, there were lots of them. So maybe as excited as I am for Cody Williams and Isaiah Collier, I'm equally as excited about what the Jazz didn't do and what they didn't draft in this draft. All right, we'll look at Cody Williams next. Break him down, get you the thoughts on him, and talk about what the Jazz acquired with the 10th pick of the NBA draft next as we continue on Locked On Jazz. Today's edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by our official ticketing partner. It's Game Time. Game Time. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off your next first purchase at Game Time. It is Game Time app, so go get the app. Can get you to all high-profile events, whether it's a concert at the arena formerly known as USANA or the Sandy Amphitheater, or whether you're heading out to travel to go to a Major League Baseball game. You can get last-minute deals up to 60% on last-minute sports, concerts, comedy, theater, flash deals, exclusive in-app deals on select seats of the game, zone deals. You can see even more choice in the section. All-in pricing. Just toggle that feature. You know exactly what you're going to get. Seat views, lowest price guaranteed, and Game Time ticket coverage. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of concerts. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem your code LOCKEDONNBA for just $20 off. Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed on Game Time. David Locke with you, Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. For your second listen today, first of all, go grab anything you want on Locked On. All of the great shows have their draft breakdown, and there's nothing better than the local experts of Locked On. Plus, we've got Locked On NBA breaking down draft night, Locked On NBA Big Board, and then the national streaming channel, Locked On Sports Today, giving you everything you need to know. All right, let's start with Cody Williams. Actually, let's first start and give you a breakdown of Cody Williams. Oh, that's really funny. I literally, from the other night's show, when we did the breakdowns on the players, I didn't have Cody Williams downloaded because I didn't think there was any chance Cody Williams would get to 10. We literally stopped giving you the breakdown of Cody Williams because there was zero chance he'd get to 10. Every mock draft had him going. He was the player I wanted the most, and I had just kind of conceded it wasn't going to happen. That's kind of funny. All right, here is a quick breakdown of Cody Williams for you I'll give it to you for a second, from the Locked On Buffs host. But first, let me give you my thoughts on Cody Williams. First of all, the unteachables. He's 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. He grew up, his brother is the great Jalen Williams of Oklahoma City. He's not the same body. Williams is bigger and stronger, but you can see all of the pieces and the flashes of Cody Williams. From a numbers standpoint, there wasn't high volume shooting, but the shooting that did took place was good. He was not a great numbers guy. In fact, on Kevin Pelton's numbers that came out, Cody Williams, I believe, came out 51st in the draft. So he wasn't like a numbers darling. But if we run through Cody Williams' numbers as his freshman year, he was in the 84th percentile in transition. That means he good functional athleticism. Little bit of isolation in the 86th percentile. Rim percentile, 96th percentile. So that means the athleticism that he has, he's able to use at a high level. He's green on my board, which means I liked him. He ran 53 pick and rolls. He does not have a lot of handle. He's not a guy who's going to be able to, right now, who's going to be able to work it. But he did run 53 pick and rolls. He was 49th percentile. He was average on it. Spot up shooting on just 55 attempts. Most guys have about 130. He was in the 86th percentile. On catch and shoot, he was 18 of 39 for a 67% effective field goal percentage in the 95th percentile. Again, only 39 takes, so not a lot. Unguarded, he was 12 of 19, 99th percentile. Dribbles off the bounce, doesn't exist. That will have to develop. He's 5 of 16, so that's not there. And wiggle, it's not really there yet, frankly. When you watch him, he's a straight line 3-and-D guy right now. Defensively, he slides his feet. He moves beautifully. He recovers fabulously. He's got all the athleticism. So you look at the package of him. In my mind, what I saw was someone who has all the length, 7'1", 6'7", positional size. He's got the feet that move. Defensively, when he got beat, he was able to get back into play and use his length. And his athleticism, he's able to use in the open floor. He's able to make plays. He did not have much room to work. This was a senior talking to a college coach who prepared for him this week. His comment to me about Cody Williams is he's got all the pieces. They're all buried, but he's 6'7", 7'1" reach. Against, and he said, he was a young freshman who was playing with stud seniors, long, lanky, athletic, highly, highly efficient. When I would scout them on tape, I would just think all the balls go in. Everything. Seems like a quiet personality. We'll see whether it comes out. And that is true on Cody Williams. Words is that he is a quiet personality. And he, De Silva, Simpson, Lampkin, 300-pound Lampkin in the middle of the lane every single game for Cody Williams. So there wasn't a lot of room to work. But you would see these bursts. And the reason he was number 2 on my draft board was these bursts. It was not a regular occurrence. There was a play on the left wing, was actually against Cal, I think, in which he comes off a pin down and he catches and 2 guys come together and he bursts through it. He explodes like that first step jump that like, oh, that's an NBA step. Now, the truth is he loses control of the basketball and he turns it over. He doesn't have the physical strength and the balance yet to be able to finish that play. But the first step of it, the strength and the bounce and that's not teachable. That's what you're looking for, at least what I'm looking for. I want to see the NBA player do something that jumps off the screen to me when I watch a college game. That jumped off the screen. There's another play, similar circumstance. He just bursts by his guy. He gets in the lane. He's a little out of control, and he throws the ball away. Now, earlier in the game, with less traffic and less speed, he made the same move. He got in the lane, he jump stopped, and he hit the corner perfectly. So what I see in those 3-play sequence out of Cody Williams is, one, I see all of the skills. And I see the knowledge and understanding of what you're supposed to do. And I see the inability physically to do it yet. But I see it possible. You're going to have to figure out whether you really believe he can shoot, right? Those shooting numbers are great, but the amount of shots is really small. He was the 4th option here. The other thing on Cody Williams, well, you'll never know, but this is something that I look at, and it jumps out to me immediately. On veteran-laden teams in college basketball, young kids get frozen. I don't know that this happened. There's no way for me to know. But let me just give you the facts, and you can decide. He takes double-digit shots for 7 of 8 games in a row. He scored in this stretch of games from the fourth game of the season to the kind of first or second game against Washington in a 9-game stretch. He takes 11 shots a game. He shoots 2 threes a game. He shoots 55%. He averages 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Colorado wins a lot too, by the way. He then gets hurt in the next game. And when he comes back 20 days later, about 13 days later, he never takes double-figure shots again in a game. Now, I'm not saying they froze him out like that they were like being nasty, but I will say that I think Simpson, Lampkin, De Silva decided it was their team at that point and that they're all were trying to be ready for the NBA draft. And Cody Williams starts playing with a mask, and he doesn't close the year well. He shoots 25% from 3 to close the year, and he actually only makes one of his last, I think, 9 3-pointers. His ball's going to have to go in. Now, that coach I talked to said he thought the ball always went in. That's going to be a real question for him. This is not a done deal. This is not guaranteed. But he has all the pieces of anything I'd want to draft. And at 10th, oh, yeah. You just don't get 6'7", 7'1" wingspan with a burst, with a touch, with functional athleticism. Here's what our Locked On Buffs host said about Cody
Williams, the younger brother of Oklahoma City Thunder star Jalen Williams, is looking to make a name for himself after a stellar year at Colorado. I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Cody Williams. He spent just 1 year in Boulder, averaged nearly 12 points per game, grabbed 3 rebounds, and dished out 1.6 assists per game. He shot 55% from the field and also showed an ability to shoot the 3, shooting at a 41.5% clip. He is someone that reminds a lot of people of Jaden McDaniels, a lengthy forward who could sort of play on both ends of the floor. Is going to have to improve his offensive game. I do think he has two-way star potential, but obviously he has to grow and didn't have a lot of opportunity with the ball at Colorado thanks to the other seasoned veterans they had on their team. For more on Cody Williams and all things Colorado, follow and subscribe to Locked On Buffs on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast.
In the simplest form, in an NBA draft, top 10 players should be 2 All-Stars. There's going to be 6 guys, including the 2 All-Stars, 6-7 guys who are rotation players or starters, and 3 busts. If I had my guess, Cody Williams is one of the 2 All-Stars, if there are 2 All-Stars in this draft. Why? Because what I just said, 6'7", 7'1", with a burst, with functional athleticism, will he learn? What would he have to do? He'll have to learn how to wiggle. He'll have to learn how to play off the bounce. He'll have to be able to create shots off the dribble. I don't know if he can do that. If he doesn't do that, he's a functional rotation NBA player and starter. If he learns how to play off the bounce and can shoot it off the bounce and create for himself a little bit, he's got a chance to be a star. And so does Isaiah Collier. And we got him at 29, and that's next. It is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. For your second listen today, Locked On NBA or any of your other podcasts. All right. I'm going to just show you 2 plays of Isaiah Collier. And for those of you on audio, I will try to walk you through it. I'm just going to show you 2 plays. And he doesn't make either of these shots. Okay? This is all you need to know. Okay? Here he is, open floor, right side of floor, with the ball. Bobbles it. Gets it, fakes left, crosses the guy over, beats him, wiggles in lane, spins to the basket, misses layup. I didn't see a single draft prospect who could make that move. Rob Dillingham had a shake, but I didn't see a single prospect. This is his first game back after being out with a fractured wrist. And here it is again. Against Cal, open floor, right side. Let me shake you. Drive to the basket, draw the foul, and go to the line. Let me show you that again. Yes, I know if you're on audio, this is annoying. But let's set this up. Right side, lines the guy up with a stutter step, fakes left, crosses him over. He goes to Europe, and Isaiah Collier goes to the rim. That's it. That skill right there on Isaiah Collier is as good as any skill I saw out of any player that actually exists right now in the draft. Zach Edey's offensive rebounding, Ryan Dunn's defense, Rob Dillingham's wiggle, Isaiah Collier's shake and drive and power. Okay. Then how the hell does he get to 29? I don't know. I really don't know. The momentum on him went the wrong direction. I don't know if he didn't work out for people. I don't know if his agent blew it. I don't know, and I don't care. He doesn't shoot it great. They'll tell me his decision-making's bad. I've watched 4 USC games now. I'm going to watch more. I got to be honest. I would suspect if I was watching the number 1 high school recruit in the country a year later playing and dropped to 29 in the NBA draft, I would think I'd see a guy who doesn't try on defense, doesn't rotate, who's selfish with the basketball, who doesn't involve teammates, and who's a complete pig. I saw none of it. In fact, I see defensive rotations that are intended to be good. I see an intention to involve a teammate. I see a guy that runs the place. I see a team that was just on team loaded with wings who sometimes saw the basketball and sometimes didn't. I saw a guy that single-handedly willed his team back against Cal to force overtime and beat them. Talking to a scout, very dynamic. He played the best basketball later in the season. I think he had a coming out party at our place. He absolutely had no answer for stopping him. He got to the rim at will, drew fouls at will. I'm not sure if he's 6'2" or 6'3", suspect jump shot, but amazing with the basketball and a creative finisher at the rim. When you watch him, he plays with a swagger. He loves to hoop. That's the word on him. He loves to hoop. It's pretty stunning. So the word is he drops to 29 because he's a terrible shooter and because he makes bad decisions. Now, on the shooting, I'll admit, I watched a game. He pulls for 3. He hits the glass, no rim. And it's hard to wash that from your memory. But let's look at the numbers for a second. His spot-up shooting is in the 43rd percentile. It's right on the edge. Right on the edge. Okay? Stephen Castles, the 4th pick of the NBA draft, who they say is going to be able to defend, was the 4th pick. His spot-up shooting is in the 28th percentile. I cannot find a player in the 28th, not Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was better in the 28th percentile. TJ Salon was in the 29th percentile in Europe. Matisse Bezulias was in the 29th percentile in the G League. Ron Holland, the 5th pick of the draft, was in the 30th percentile in the G League. Bub Carrington, the 14th pick of the draft, was in the 31st percentile. Ryan Dunn, the pick before, was in the 32nd percentile. You can tell me that Isaiah Collier dropped in this draft because he can't shoot. There's 6 guys that were worse spot-up shooters by a considerable margin. Isaiah Collier's spot-up effective field goal percentage was 50%. Stephen Castles was 42. Salons was 40. Bezulias was 45. Holland 45. 5 in a different league. But Bub Carrington was 41. His catch and shoot percentile was in the 72nd percentile. Ryan Dunn's is in the 9th. Ron Holland's in the 14th. Matisse Bezulias is in the 24th. Stephen Castles is in the 28th. He only took 46. I got it. Bob Carrington took 81. Holland took 79. Castle took 58. We're just going to bypass this fact on Castle. He's a dramatically worse shooter, and he doesn't have that bounce, and he doesn't have that shake. Let's go to dribble off the bounce. Collier's in the 56th percentile. He's fine. He's not great, but he's fine. Stephen Castle's in the 28th percentile. TJ Salon's in the 16th. Bazulius is in the 30th. Ron Holland's in the 12th. And he took 68 off the bounce shots. That's a lot. He went 23 of 68. Stephen Castle went 13 of 64. TJ Salon in his league went 13 of 64. No, that was Castle. Wait. Taking that back. Castle went 11 of 41. TJ Salon went 13 of 64. Ron Holland went 22 of 81. Ryan Dunn went 4 of 10. And Isaiah Collier went 23 of 68, 41% on effective. That's not terrible. Risha Shea, the number one pick of the draft, was 38 percentile off the bounce effective field goal percentage. He's not a great shooter, but he's not terrible. In fact, if you want the guy who can get fixed, he's in the range that can get fixed. There are 6 guys in this draft I don't think can get fixed, and they all went way earlier. I'm mystified on how Isaiah Collier got to 29. In an open floor NBA game, he's getting on the cup all the time. He'll score 28 a game in the G League, in the Summer League, if there's space. He's going to kill the Summer League. He's like a Summer League great player. He had 104 transition opportunities in college basketball. That's a ton. In fact, Ron Holland had more in the G League, probably played more games, and Bazulius did. Of college players, the only player that had more opportunities in transition than Isaiah Collier, the only players, were Terrence Shannon Jr. and Devin Carter. And this guy missed a bunch of games. And he was in the 74th percentile in transition. He's in the 50th percentile of isolation on 39 attempts. And at the rim, at 6'2 or 6'3, which is smaller than you want him to be, that's why he slid, he had 157 rim shots. He shot 68, he was in the 68th percentile. Against Cal, in the game I watched, I think he took 16 free throws. He's unguardable. I'm telling you, unguardable. Left hand, right hand, power, shake. Furthermore, if the league's going to start calling the games the way they did last year, where you can basically murder someone when they drive to the basket and they're not calling fouls anymore, then you better be as strong as Tyson out of Cal or Collier out of USC if you're going to make any roads in the NBA. Cody Williams is going to be in trouble. He's really lanky. But you better be super strong. We'll see. Time will tell. I'm blown away that Isaiah Collier was available. And the fact is that the Jazz read the board right, or they analyzed the board right, or they got lucky, but the night's about as perfect as you can get from a draft night for the Utah Jazz. And time will tell. Can Cody Williams develop an off-the-bounce game and a wiggle and be an all-star? Can Cody Williams shoot it well enough to be a bona fide starter? Can Isaiah Collier defend at an undersized 6'2 or 6'3, and can his shot become viable enough that he becomes a star? Collier has got all the star potential. He's the number one recruit in the country. And if the easy answer is we're just going to go under on every pick and roll. I don't think so. Because if you give him space and give him room, he's so strong and powerful at 210, 215, he's just going to beat you. You're going to have to get up on him and bully him defensively for him to be able to not be able to make his plays. And we'll see how he deals with that. His game was loose. His game was loose. Can he tighten his game and become a bona fide NBA player? I like where the Jazz are. I like those picks. That's a hell of a night. Let's see what they do tonight. Filipowski is the biggest name on the board. If they keep that pick, they probably go that direction. They have one team could sneak ahead of them, but it's Washington. They already took Alex Sarr, so I'd be really surprised. So I would guess that Filipowski out of Duke is on the board. Furpy out of Kansas is pretty interesting. I like Tyler Smith a lot, the G League kid. I think that's a possibility. Filipowski's really, really skilled offensively. I don't think he has the toughness that he probably needs, but he's a legit 7 foot 230. I don't love the fact that his transition, his rim percentage numbers weren't great, but he's really skilled. He can play with the ball in his hands. He can shoot it a little bit. For a second-round pick to get a 7-footer that's skilled, probably pretty darn good day. I do like Harrison Ingram, who played at North Carolina, 6'7", versatile guard. Not sure what his route to playing for us would be at this point. And just super excited we didn't take Keyshawn George. Have a great day. Enjoy it. That's a good one for the Jazz. I'll probably put up some bonus episodes, watch some more this weekend, have more for you. It is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. We now send you on video to Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 national sports streaming channel on YouTube. Have a good one.